Welcome back. In today's video, we are in the forest again. Some of my subscribers asked for some more forest videos, so here we go. So one of the things I want to talk about today is just as an apprentice, how do you deal with stress and how do you deal with like some of the negatives that come with construction as far as dealing with journeymen, dealing with the pressure. How do you respond to those things? And I think one of the best things is something like this. Just getting outside and get outside of your head, right? Because sometimes you'll fall into like a negative doom loop where like you make a mistake, so then now you get nervous, you make more mistakes, and it keeps happening more and more and more. Then you find yourself laid off, then you find yourself like, okay, I can't do anything right, let me quit. I think sometimes it's good to recognize that all of us make mistakes. All of us are not perfect. A lot of guys who are ahead of you, who have been in the trades for a long time, they were in the exact same place as you are. But just like how parents forget how it's like to be a child, same thing with journeyman, how it feels to be an apprentice. A lot of times we forget about all the anxiety and pressure we had when we were an apprentice and we were afraid to make a mistake. A lot of times you kind of get past that and you're like, well, I expect these guys to know what they're doing right off the bat, even though they're getting paid way less than me, even though they have way less experience than me. I'm expecting them to perform the same level as I am, and I think that's just ludicrous sometimes. Now this advice is not just for apprentices, but it's just for all young people, period. I know my audience tends to skew a little bit younger, so maybe you guys don't have as much work experience, but honestly, a lot of people who are, above you as far as leadership or supervising you, they were in the same position as you. No one comes out of the womb knowing everything. Nobody comes out of the womb being a super proficient carpenter. Honestly, most of y'all are gonna be mid. Most of y'all are gonna be average. You're not gonna be rock star for the most part. You are gonna be a part of a system. You are a cog in the machine. And once you get to know that, you're like, okay, I may not be perfect, but that's not what this job requires. Those who are really like super badass, who are like the best carpenters I know, a lot of them either are superintendents or they run their own companies. A lot of the guys who are the loudest shit talkers, the ones who are the most cynical on the job site, usually aren't that good. But they're afraid of, other people come behind them, knowing a little bit of knowledge that they have and taking their job. And I think a lot of times when it comes to construction it's a lot of scarcity mindset, bro. Because I think 2008 really traumatized a lot of guys, and just the whole boom and bust cycle, seeing a lot of guys get laid off, seeing a lot of guys keep their job when they were like, just like the foreman's brother or something like that. That kind of makes a lot of guys really cynical. So they don't really look at like, okay, I'm here to make money. It's just a part of my life. It's not my whole life. And a lot of guys just get so consumed with this that they make it a really negative thing. Another thing that you'll notice is some of the most negative guys and the guys who are the worst to work with are the guys who really lack communication skills. Like they'll give you a task, but they won't explain it thoroughly enough. And so I think when it comes to that, do yourself a favor, try to make them detail out what they want as best as possible. Use pictures if you need it. Go to the blueprints, because a lot of times you'll have guys give you half-baked instructions. You'll run off and then it won't happen how they envision in their mind, because again, you don't know everything they know. And that's with every job. You could be a journeyman who has 13 years experience. If you're on a topic or you're on a job site that you have never done before, you are gonna be behind. So don't let that discourage you. Just get more details. Have them break down exactly what you want to be done right then and there, because it's way better to get fully, like the full instructions and have everything laid out for you than you to run off half-cocked, start the work, and then them come to your area and say, listen, that's not what I wanted, this is wrong, that's wrong. Now you're tearing stuff off the walls, or you're now trying to frame something together. Just get fully instructed, and especially when you're earlier on as an apprentice, ask as many questions as possible. There are no dumb questions the first time. Now, if you keep asking the same questions and you're not like absorbing information, that's people get frustrated. But if you ask the dumb question the first time and you're fully like engrossed and listening, and you're not like, have your eyes wandering off, you're not paying attention, people are going to be way more receptive, because they know that if I invest this time now, it's going to pay dividends later. I have to teach you this one time if you have a fully thought out, detailed plan. One of the most difficult parts of being an apprentice, especially if say you're your second or third term, you kind of have like that Dunning-Kruger effect where you kind of know enough just to get yourself in trouble, where like you can hear somebody explain something to you and it kind of makes sense, but you don't fully understand exactly what's going on. And that might happen even as a journeyman. Like say you have a new process you haven't seen before, it may be similar to another detail, but you try it out and then you're going maybe an hour and a half, and then they come check up on you and like, listen, that's wrong. That's one of the worst feelings, especially when you know you have no one to blame but yourself. And your first instinct is to blame somebody else, right? Sometimes you have to just sit and hold that L. Like, listen, you made the mistake. These things happen. Let's learn, let's grow from it, and let's stew in it too, right? Like, okay, let's see exactly how it happened and how do you fix it. Speaking of Dunning-Kruger effect, let me tell you my little story. Back when I was like a second or third term apprentice, I had just left a concrete company where they ran us like really hard. It was really physically exhausting. But when I came to my new company, it kind of felt like everybody was like moving in like jello. Everybody wasn't going as fast as me. I kind of felt like I was badass. And then I had a journeyman who had did residential carpentry, but never did commercial carpentry. So like concrete wasn't his like forte. So I really felt like I had one up on him. Like I felt like, why is he getting paid this much money and I'm getting paid way less than him? It's not fair. Really just like moping and like crying like a little bitch, honestly. I started to get like really arrogant, but then I realized after that job, we left to somewhere else. We went to a place where it's more like framing. He smoked me. He wasn't even close. And then I realized like, oh, there's levels to this. Like it doesn't matter how long you've done something, how expansive is your knowledge? Like, can you go from a framing job to a concrete job to a siding job to a demo job, to a clean room job? There's so many different ways to be a carpenter. Yeah, you may have one little niche down, like one system down, but can I take you and drop you anywhere? And then you realize, oh snap, I'm not a great carpenter, I'm just all right at framing, or I'm not a great carpenter, I'm just good at concrete, this level of concrete, not even like expert level, like high level, I'm just competent. So you realize, hey, listen, there are so many levels to this and you have to be humble. Even as a journeyman with 7 years experience, I'm still average, and I know that. Like you have to really internalize it. Listen, most of y'all are average, just like me. We're not special. We can't be replaced. Only thing you do is show up every day, prepared with your tools, on time, and give your best effort. That's all it comes down to. And that's gonna separate between you and like a really badass carpenter that never shows up, that has like the skills to pay the bills, but he's getting drunk on the weekends and like not showing up on Mondays, or getting court cases, so like he has to miss 2 weeks, or he's fighting with his baby mom, she's showing up to the job site and breaking a window. Like all those things happen, and it doesn't matter how good of your carpenter you are. If you're doing stuff like that, your skills are not gonna be able to outweigh that. So just know that off top. One of the best pieces of advice I can give to an apprentice that is dealing with, you know, a really harsh journeyman or just having a really toxic environment around you is just be quiet. Now, that might sound really like stupid, and it might sound like, well, why do I have to stop talking? The best thing you do for a bully is don't give them any ammunition. Bullies love to prey on victims who they think they can take advantage of, or they feel like they have the upper hand on. When you're quiet, you take all the advantage away because they don't know what you're capable of, right? They don't know you. That mystery is the fog that's gonna help you. Trust me, I've been surrounded by some of the worst, and the way how I navigate those areas was just to be quiet. Don't talk a lot. Don't leave yourself open to have, you know, them attack you or learn too much and I feel like they got a good read on you. That mystery is gonna be your best friend, trust me. Another piece of advice, I know I said it before, the best thing you do is just kill these angry old men with kindness, bro. First, you set a boundary, you are polite. Like I said, you don't have to talk a lot, but just like, please, thank you, I appreciate you, using their first name. So many of these guys are so miserable at home, they're miserable in their life, that the negativity and the toxic nature of them doesn't just stop at the job site. That goes everywhere. So if you're not adding to that, or you're not making yourself a target for that ire, you're gonna find out, like, oh, listen, it's not a me thing, it's a them thing. They hate their life, and they're gonna take every opportunity to attack anybody who's like in their vicinity. And so that's when you're kind and nice to them. We also set a boundary. I'm not saying that you should be a pushover. Do not add fuel to that fire and then watch what happens, because a lot of times as humans, it is very hard for us to be assholes to people that like aren't attacking us back, right? it's kind of like a reciprocity thing, right? So if you're kind and someone's like being an asshole to you, there's going to be like a cognitive thing going on in their mind, like a dissonance, right? Where it's like, I'm being an asshole and yelling, but he's still kind to me. What's going on? Like, he's going to feel like weird about it, right? Opposed to you being very confrontational, and then now you're mutual combatants now, right? Now it's like, oh, see, I had reason to be an asshole to him because I had sensed something in him, like he was clairvoyant or something, which he wasn't. He was just being a jackass, because that's what a lot of guys in the trades do. So if you eliminate that fuel, it's very hard for them to keep that footing. And a lot of times, some of these guys are looking to like see if you can earn your stripes, which I think is super fucking corny, because guys, when they were coming to the trades, they hated it, and now they're perpetuating that same thing again with younger guys. Like, listen, we have to haze you and treat you like garbage for you to earn your position here. And it's like, well, did you like that when that shit's happened to you? No? Then why are you doing that to me? It's like, tradition. You don't have to do that. You don't have to put up with it either. It's just about putting up a clear boundary and not going too crazy with it. And I understand sometimes people are gonna try your manhood and you're gonna maybe the fight, but don't do it. Try to make that your very, very last resort. One of the best things you can do as an apprentice is, and a journeyman alike, is just to undersell and overperform, opposed to being really braggadocious. It seems like that's a lot of like a common thing in construction, is everybody's badass. You go in the comment section of any kind of construction video, everybody knows everything, everybody's done it 1,000 times better, everybody knows the better technique, and why are you paying this guy this much? But really, when it comes down to it, is if most of these guys were really as badass as they say, they would be, one, running their own company. And again, people who are successful business owners aren't on YouTube comment sections, so that just shows right there, like, most of these guys are not successfully running their own business and then coming home and then watching YouTube shorts and commenting, blasting guys on their techniques. That's not what successful people do. So it's much better for you to say, listen, I have some knowledge about this subject or this task, but do you want to show me your way? So then you're not in conflict. A lot of guys, get upset when like apprentices do things like not their way or not their system. So it's much better to start off like, listen, do you want to show me how you want these forms built off top? So then they can show you. So then, like, when you start at the process, you're not wasting a couple hours. I've had one time where I was working with a journeyman and he told me, okay, I want you to build, 50 concrete forms for this footing. And so I started the process. I had the nail gun out. I started cutting the boards. I built like 20 of them. And he came over and was like, listen, you're doing way too much. You're building 60 on center. I would much rather just put like 3 2x behind them. It's not that serious. And so, oh, I thought you want me to frame these out because they had to be a little more durable depending on, like, it's how I've done other job sites because we're going to use them multiple times. Like, no, I just need you to do it kind of rough and dirty. So sometimes it's much easier to have the game plan once they give it to you, opposed to just going like, builder's choice, because sometimes that might take a lot more material than they have. So it's good to, all the way around, communication is key in this business. And the better communicator you are, the more successful you'll be when it comes to like task at hand. But like I said too, sometimes a lack of communication can also be at your advantage. So know how to balance those things. You know what I'm saying? So that's my advice for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the little walk in the park. I appreciate you guys. Catch you guys next one. Like and subscribe. Peace.